Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Thrashers Paradise. We are joined today with Toronto prog rock melodic metal band Motion Device, who just released their brand new album, Motion Device 4, which came out on September 4th. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you all doing?
Good. Pretty good.
Excellent. So let's just get right into it. Motion Device 4 came out on September 4th. What has been the overall response from the fans and new listeners about the album so far?
I think they've been all positive for the most part. They really like this album. Yeah.
It was definitely really good.
I think so.
Awesome. Now, for all of you, what does it mean for all of you to finally have this album be released into the world?
We'd been writing this album for a little, I wouldn't say crazy long, but we started writing the album right after we finished our mini tour in the States. So yeah, it was, I think, about a couple years.
2018, so yeah, I think so.
So it was kind of a big build-up because there were some songs that we had been playing and had recorded for quite a while, and others that came in closer to the, actual release date. So it was exciting to finally get those songs that we had previously been working on for a long time and finally get them out for people to enjoy, as opposed to just us playing them over and over again and just enjoying them ourselves. So it did mean a lot to us to finally get that music out there, and especially the positive response that we got back from that album was rewarding, because all that work, it ended up being totally worth it in the end.
Awesome. Now, for each of you individually, which song did you find, whether it was writing it or recording it, the most difficult to work with?
I think Lion and the Keeper.
Yeah.
That one we thought wouldn't even make it on the album, but then it ended up being one of our favorites, or at least one of my favorites.
Lion and the Keeper was the one that made the most progress during the recording aspect of it, because we knew it was one of the weaker songs on the album, so it was one that we spent extra time on during the recording, and I think, that went
I think Lion and the Keeper was definitely difficult for the band, not really me, because it's more of like a mainstream vocal for me. So I think the hardest song for me was, I don't know, maybe Here For You. Here For You was a difficult one for me.
So maybe Here For You and Lion and the Keeper were the two that I think we were, I wouldn't say worried about, but the ones that we knew would need special attention during the recording process. And then over that time was when we really came to enjoy those songs more, and they grew the most. And ultimately we decided, okay, like, these are where they need to be, and we ended up releasing them on the album.
Awesome. Now, one of my favorite parts of the album is the amazing artwork that is with it. It is so beautiful, so it's just hard to describe, because I really like it. I think it's very nice. What made you all want to choose this as the album cover for Motion Device 4, and who is the mastermind behind it?
I think for this cover, we just kind of wanted something that was more simple, more like symbolic, something that, like, if you were to see it like in the store, you just knew what it was right away. Like, if that kind of makes sense. Like, if you look at our old album covers, they're a lot more intricate, I guess, and this one's a lot like just straight up our logo. It's called Motion Device 4. It's just, we wanted something a lot more simple with this one around, I'd say.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think I would be doing my job if I didn't ask you. This is your 4th release. What's it like knowing that you're 4 releases into your career?
It doesn't feel like 4 releases.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Like the first 2 doesn't feel like, those just feel like, I don't know, podcasts.
Yeah.
I feel like I really started to feel like we were coming into our sound for our Wide Awake album. But then listening back to Motion Device 4 is where, again, I'm in that space where I'm like, okay, this is now really, really starting to sound like Motion Device to me. So even though we have the 4 releases, again, it's feeling like now we're finally starting to come into our own sound, and I'm really starting to enjoy where the music is at and how it's matured over the 4 years. So like, yeah, the last two albums really feel like Motion Device for me, whereas the EP and the second album were a little bit more still.
We're young.
Yeah, we were also really young too, so it wasn't. It's a lot different than what we're creating now, I'd say.
Well, this album too was produced, recorded, engineered by us as well, so
Yeah.
it made it even more special, right?
Yeah, so it was definitely, as much as it's our first album, there was a lot of new experience. Sorry, it was our fourth album. There was a lot of new experiences in this album that made it feel new as opposed to something we've already done 3 times previously.
Okay. For each of you individually, what have you find so far being the hardest selling point to try and promote this album?
I think one of the more difficult things with the album Motion Device 4 is just that genre of music in general, like the music we enjoy to play and create, kind of more of like a progressive rock, I would like a progressive metal type of music, isn't something that you typically hear on, let's say, like a mainstream type of media, or like, you know, on like a top chart radio thing. Like it would never be, and I'm even talking like major bands, like if you were to even take like a Dream Theater or a Tool or something like that, bands that are huge in this genre, they're not something that you're going to hear on like a top 20 Billboard. So I think that in general is hard because it might not appeal to a mass number of people because it's not always pushed as like a, you know, even though the music is great and the music is cool, it's not something that you would find in like a mainstream media type of setting. So for us, being again more of like an indie, less known progressive rock or progressive metal band, it's really hard for us to push our music to a more mainstream media.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, even recording it like ourselves, you know, like have input from like the recording studios and all that too. Like, I don't know, like we don't have a lot of different opinions. It's just like our opinions on like the music, so that can be hard too when it's like you're trying to figure out what to do and there's not much.
Oh yeah, like the previous albums, the engineers would throw in their own idea.
Yeah.
This time it was strictly us.
Or even if it wasn't their idea, it would be the type of thing where it's like, hey, we're thinking about doing this, and then they're like, oh no, like that's cool. Yeah, whereas this time we thought something was really cool to add to the album, or we thought something sounded really cool, but you don't have really, you know, a second opinion who hasn't been hearing the music for over a year to say, yeah, okay, that's cool, or no, maybe that's not a good idea. So we took a little bit of a risk. That was also another factor for this album.
Plus, after or being through COVID, we weren't able to do a show afterwards as well.
Yeah.
So, like the other releases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's basically it.
Okay. Now, I can see on your YouTube that you recently uploaded a brand new music video, Blindfolded Away, which came out a month ago. For each of you, what was it like to make that music video?
Definitely different than all of our other videos. Very.
I found it a lot more fun. Like,
Yeah.
It was a lot more relaxed, more natural. It was literally just us playing, I think, one of the best songs on the album. It was a lot.
And that was our first one too.
Yeah, it was like that was like one of our first songs we literally started working on too. So it was honestly a lot more fun to do something in the studio to show us actually playing rather than more of a gimmicky style video. Yeah, I think overall it was one of the better ones.
Yeah, some of our other videos are a little bit more scripted, whereas this one was more so recorded performance, and it was nice to be able to just perform as opposed to, like, let's say, more of like a scripted acting video, and it kind of quenched that performance aspect that we haven't been able to do in quite a while.
And it's more like who we are too. Like, we're not really the music video acting type of like band. We're more like kind of
Jam on.
tamed and to ourselves. So like to do a video where we're behind our instruments, just kind of playing like what we created, I think it was a lot easier to do for us.
It's also fun to show off the studio that our fans basically crowdfunded for
Yeah,
us.
that
Yeah.
too.
So
Now, being in a huge music scene like Toronto, for all of you personally, do you find being a prog rock metal band an advantage or disadvantage in the Toronto metal scene or music scene?
I would say maybe a disadvantage in the sense of finding places where people may be willing to book you, knowing that you're a prog rock or metal band. Like, let's say on more like a more of a mainstream event where there's going to be a lot of people who are just there as opposed to coming to see you specifically. But once we've actually gone and played a show, we've like never got any type of negative response from us, from people watching or whatnot. So I think it might be a slight disadvantage in getting gigs, but then once we're actually playing, the fact that we're a prog rock or prog metal band, everybody enjoys the music once we're up on stage and we're playing.
Awesome. Now I got one last question for all of you. We usually ask this to all of our first time appearing guests on the channel. Just a fun little question we like to ask, just to test your metal knowledge. Simple question we find: who would win in a fight, Lemmy or God?
or God? Lenny or God? Can you repeat that? Who's Lenny?
Lenny. All right, let's go with Lenny.
Like we're on game show. Let's go with Lenny.
Yeah.
So you're going with Lemmy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations, you are correct. But to let you all know, it is a trick question because Lemmy is God.
Oh, okay.
Motion Device, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to make time for me to interview you here on Thrashers Paradise. Is there anything else you would like to say to the people that are going to be watching and listening to this?
I think with everything going on, it's important that people try to spend some time to support, even more so than just indie artists, but indie artists and any type of musical artists at this time, to support them with maybe picking up some merch or listening to their music or buying an album as opposed to just streaming it, because everybody's really losing that opportunity to play live shows, which is a reason why a lot of musicians get into forming bands and playing music in the first place, is to be able to have that type of connection with their fans through playing music, live music. So I think more now than ever, it's important for people to help and support the artists that they love and the artists that they listen to.
Yeah, and I guess they can probably look forward to more videos coming out soon. YouTube videos. And yeah.
And hopefully we'll get out and be playing a live show as soon as we can.
And maybe a single. Maybe.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for your time, and for everyone watching at home, just keep on thrashing.